Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. It is your Monday update. Not a whole lot to update other than the happy nuptials of Brandon Aiyuk and Rochelle, his wife. They got married on Saturday, and it looks like everybody had a good time. I saw Ricky Pearsall was there, Kristen and Kyle Juszczyk were there, a lot of the 49ers players, Jaden Daniels was there. So always congratulations to Brandon Aiyuk and his family. Good to see them happy and betrothed. So um, I wrote a story on the offensive line on NBCSportsBayArea.com, and I know that there's a lot of you out there that really, really want to see the 49ers draft offensive linemen and shore up protection for Brock Purdy, who is going to be one of their biggest investments to date. He will become the highest paid 49er player in the history of the franchise at some point soon before the season starts. So obviously you want to have protection for him. I just don't think it's going to happen in the first or second round. Every indication that I wrote about, from Kyle Shanahan to John Lynch to Jed York, they've all talked about how they like their offensive linemen. They like Jake Rendell. They like Colton McKivitz at right tackle. And if you look at the PFF grades for a lot of the players that are on the offensive line, they're actually kind of mid-range or up in the middle third of the league when it comes to their positions. It's Trent Williams. If Trent Williams is healthy, it makes the offensive line 100 times better. So Trent Williams is healthy. He is going to play, and I think that's a good indicator for how the offensive line will play. I also think that the fact that they signed a blocking tight end in free agency, that also indicates that they aren't going to draft in offensive linemen early in the draft. I do think they draft offensive linemen, but I also think that they're hoping that their performance in last year's draft, where they found Dominic Puni in the third round, people were looking him at as a tackle, but they saw him as a guard. And it actually worked out really well. Obviously, because of injuries due to other players, he ended up being in the starting lineup and never lost his position the entire season. Uh, Other guys that positions that they really need to fill, obviously, is left guard. Aaron Banks left on a huge deal with the Green Bay Packers. Swing tackle Jalen Moore left, huge deal to be the left tackle for Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs. So there are some holes, and they are going to need to fill those, but I just don't think it's going to be in the first or second round. As much as you guys hate it, I'm sorry. They will add depth, but I think the guys that they will take a look at the left guard position, it's going to be Ben Barch. It's going to be Nick Zakel. It's going to be Matt Hennessy. Those are the guys that they have on the roster, and they're going to add what they can through the draft. But I really do think they hope they have a draft class like they had last year. Now, last year, there wasn't a whole lot of pressure on the front office to get guys who could step in immediately. I mean, you look at Malik Mustafa, it was supposed to be Talanoa Hufanga and Jair Brown. More injury to Talanoa Hufanga, and Malik Mustafa stepped in. Charvarius Ward had some emotional, terrible family issues that kept him off the field for a little bit. Renardo Green stepped in. All of those things were kind of products of the situation. Dominic Puni wasn't supposed to be a starter, but he came in and started. So I do think the 49ers are going to add a lot of depth across the board, but I do think defensive tackle is the spot where they really need to add. I mean, that's the one position where it's Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson, yes, Kevin Givens. Those are three players that, they have some experience, but they don't have a lot of experience. And you look at the names across the board at every other position, I think defensive tackle is where they do have to add in. So while they are going to add depth at offensive line, I just think it's going to be later. And I'm so sorry, because I know there's a lot of anger and angst. But from what John Lynch has said, we like Jake Rendell. We like Colton McKivitz. Dominic Puni, obviously it speaks for himself. John Lynch said, hey, when Trent Williams is on the field, the offensive line plays better. But with that and a blocking tight end that they added in to free up George Kittle, I just think, when they added that blocking tight end in, I think that means that they are going to address the defensive line first. They will address the offensive line, but I think defense takes priority. So I'm actually up in Seattle, was visiting family, and headed back to California shortly. But just wanted to drop a little update. Hope you guys are all well. And man, it's 10 days before the NFL draft, and things are starting to get pretty serious. The interesting thing about this draft is where the 49ers could go with that number 11 pick really rests on where everybody else in front of them picks. How many quarterbacks are going to be taken? You know, is there going to be how many defensive ends are going to be taken first? Who takes them? Does anyone move up? How many quarterbacks are taken? That's the big one, because that means somebody may move up for a position. Maybe they, are able to move up or move back. So a lot to take in. It's going to be very interesting. But 10 days before the draft, John Lynch will have a media session before the draft at some point, and so we'll be there for that, and we'll keep you informed on all aspects of what's happening with the 49ers. But I do think I haven't heard any updates on the negotiations with Brock Purdy, but I do think that they are close on numbers. And when I say close, I am saying within $5 to $7 million per year. So I think they're getting close, but obviously still some work to do. All right, everybody. Hope you're well. Talk to you soon.